Early on, LG was a very innovative company in the smartphone space, having many first-to-market ideas. But as we've come to learn, first doesn't always matter. The thing is, LG's smartphone division might have been doomed from the beginning. It was a long and bumpy road for them, let's be honest. But why did LG fail? What did they do along the way that caused this catastrophic failure of otherwise a very huge and successful company to just stop making smartphones altogether? Well, we'll explain all of that and more, from the successes to the flops and everything in between. This is the rise and fall of LG's smartphone division. What's going on, everyone? This is Dom, and in order to understand why LG failed as a smartphone maker, we need to go all the way back to the beginning, to LG's very first smartphone, the LG Prada.
LG is a manufacturer, of course, and Prada is a worldwide known fashion brand name, and it's a very large brand name at that. So this is more of a fashion phone than what you call a really smartphone.
Speaking of first to markets, the Prada was a first in its own right, technically beating Apple to the punch with a capacitive touchscreen. It wasn't an Android smartphone though. It ran LG's custom OS and UI, which is probably one of its biggest mistakes out of the gate. You see, LG didn't really have a long-standing track record of operating systems of its own flavor, and it's not like they could just, slap together one that was existing out there and put it on a smartphone, because at the time, nothing else existed. Android wasn't available yet, and on top of that, having a capacitive touchscreen meant that it needed different features and parameters to work versus something like a resistive touchscreen. Keep in mind, this was 2007, and Android wasn't even available until 2008, which kind of leads to more of LG's mistakes that they made along the way, but we'll get into that in a little bit. That being said, the display's color range was actually really poor at only 256K, and the groundbreaking capacitive touchscreen that LG put on this phone didn't support multi-touch, and it only packed in, the phone as a whole, 8 megabytes of storage, and ultimately was absolutely crushed a month later by the iPhone. Another first to market for LG in the smartphone space was all the way back in 2008 with the Renoir, the first full touchscreen smartphone with an 8 megapixel camera. It seems funny that that was such a big deal, but 2008, having an 8 megapixel camera, you were kind of a boss. Unfortunately, that phone didn't really do much to move the needle. The main problem right out of the gate is that when Android was available in late 2008, LG did not jump right on the bandwagon. They didn't actually really release any full featured Android smartphones for a couple of years actually after that, and I think that is where one of the first key mistakes was made. In my opinion, LG's first true attempt to step into the spotlight as an Android smartphone manufacturer was in 2010 with the LG Optimus, and that was pretty cool. It didn't do a lot, but it did have some custom ROMs that eventually became available for it, and in 2011, LG launched the world's first smartphone with a dual-core processor in it, the Optimus 2X. But it wasn't until 2012 when we saw the Optimus G where clear direction started to be visible as far as LG goes as a smartphone maker. So the Optimus G was actually a pretty good phone at the time, and it eventually became the hardware blueprint for the Google Nexus 4.
Hey, what's up guys, MKBHD here. Tomorrow is Nexus 4 day for me. The LG Optimus G here has been available for a little bit now, and it's the phone that the Nexus 4 was based on.
A major turning point though for LG came in 2013 when they dropped the Optimus portion of the name and just went with the LG G2. And I think that's really where a lot of the mainstream became readily aware of LG as a smartphone maker. The LG G2 and LG G Flex were actually pretty well known for that time period, but it wasn't until 2014 with the LG G3 that people really started paying attention. So the LG G3 was one of the first smartphones out there with a 1440p display. On top of that, they really changed the smartphone camera game with their innovative laser autofocus system. From there, we had the LG G4 in 2015, but more notably was the LG V10. Now that smartphone did a lot for LG, in my opinion anyways. It was actually one of the first smartphones with dual cameras, but Unfortunately, the dual cameras were on the front of the phone, which in my opinion was a big mistake. The LG V10 had a standard 80-degree front-facing camera and a 120-degree selfie camera, which was cool at all, but would have been way better to see that kind of thing on the back, like I said. But it did also have dual displays on the front, which was a cool gimmick, and it was a very rugged smartphone in an otherwise fragile world of glass out there. And I think that the V10 was a pretty big success for LG. Real quick though, big shout out to Manscape for sponsoring this video, and my friends over at Manscape just sent me out their 4th generation performance package. Inside this package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, their 4th generation trimmer, which features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology, a multifunction on and off switch that can engage a travel lock, and it's waterproof. Now, the Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker, which is this cool nose and ear hair trimmer, and let's be honest, I definitely need this. And it provides proprietary skin-safe technology as well, which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes. Seal the deal with Manscaped's liquid formulation, including the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner. Manscaped even threw in 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. Seriously though, join the other 2 million men who trusted Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. Get 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com/Dom Esposito. Your balls will thank you. Now, between those launches and the LG G5, LG actually manufactured the Nexus 5 and 5X. But in 2015, with the G5, like I said, they took that dual camera idea and moved it around to the backside, which may not have been a first in the smartphone space, but it was definitely one of the first in the mainstream. Also, around the time of the G5 era, they launched the V20, which actually ditched the rugged design and went with an all-metal design. And honestly, from this point, the LG G series and the V series started to like merge closer and closer and really didn't differentiate enough from each other. In 2017, we saw the G6 and the V30, which honestly, like, they just started to seem like the same phone. Like, there wasn't a lot happening to really convince me to buy either of them. And in 2018 and 2019, we had the G7 and G8 respectively, which really just offered basic spec bumps and didn't really do anything to draw in new people to like the LG fan base. LG even tried to jump into a foldable device. Now I'm using that term loosely because we're talking about the LG G8X, which came with a case that had another screen on the side and you could fold it. So the screen didn't fold, but you had 2 screens that would unfold into one. And they also tried this with the LG V60 in 2020. And I don't think that this really added a lot of function to people's lives. It's not like you're unfolding a tablet. You just have a case that gives you 2 screens with a big gap in the middle. It wasn't very useful. Also in 2020, LG launched the Velvet, which, let's be honest here, wasn't any more exciting than the G series or V series of smartphone offerings at the time. It just had a different name. I mean, decent specs, glass body, blah, blah, blah. But it wasn't really doing anything exciting. And right before LG officially shut the doors on its smartphone division,
I'm KBHD here, and this is possibly the weirdest, but at least the most interesting phone of the year so far. This is LG Wing.
And yeah, it was a gimmick, but it was a first gimmick at least. Like, nobody else had done anything like that really, and it drew a lot of attention to them. Unfortunately, I think they had already made the decision to close the doors prior to launching that phone, so they didn't really spend a lot on marketing it or getting people excited about this kind of new concept in the world, and it just didn't do well. So what really happened with the LG smartphone division? I mean, it seemed like at the height of the G series, like around the G3, like they were on top of the world. They were doing really good. A lot of people knew their name. They were really coming out with a lot of innovative ideas. And then they just completely crashed and burned. But to put things into perspective, as big of a giant in the smartphone industry as LG may have seemed, even at its peak, they only held less than 10% of the global share of the smartphone market. And unfortunately, that declined to around 2% as time went on. Here's the deal, LG did have a lot of firsts in the smartphone industry, and in many ways, they helped push the technology that we have forward for today's market. I think that LG spent too much time, or not enough time, depending on your perspective, being first versus being better. And that was a clear pattern throughout a lot of their smartphone launches over the years. On top of the fact that they didn't really embrace Android for a couple of years after it was originally launched. Unfortunately, not embracing Android early on, I think, had a big effect on the long-term sustainability of LG as a smartphone maker. They were doing a whole bunch of cool stuff early on in the beginning that, coupled with Android, could have really changed the path that they went down in terms of making and selling their smartphones. But what do you think about LG smartphones? I'm curious to know your opinion on the matter. Which LG smartphone was your favorite? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you're new around here, subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. This is Dom, and I will catch you in the next video.